The Night of the Living Dead is here. 4 stacks of high tier, high rank, vampire count armies have spawned at each vampire legendary lord start location. Vlad von Karstein, Manfred von Karstein, Helman Gorst, Red Duke, Heinrich Kemmler all go into a frenzy and take everything in their vicinity. Without losing any time, Thorgrim makes his way to Manfred and baits his armies, and the armies surprisingly initially ignore their province that they spawn at, and move towards the surrounding provinces, conveniently falling into the trap set by the dwarves against Manfred. Manfred, however, still takes over the magical forest, but otherwise just stands there, menacingly. Vlad, on the other hand, went in full force and attacked Zufbar, which belongs to the dwarves, garrisoned by a 20 stack of a high-end dwarf units, and vampires hit it with 3 of their 20 stacks. And while the reinforced settlement initially fights off the first army and severely wounding the second, the third army proves too much to handle and Zufbar falls to Lad. Strangely enough, he also ignores his starting province, Castle Drakenhof, which was controlled by Bretonnia. It was left completely undefended, and then the next turn he would besiege the Zufbar province capital, which was manned by an impromptu army mostly made of Bugman's rangers. However, because he was so hurt, he was unable to assault the place and instead chose to besiege it. After Vlad had wasted most of his resources at Zufbar, the armies that were being recruited at Karazakarak paused recruitment to be sent north to
pay back every grudge.
During this time, they have realized that they will need to specialize the 4 provinces around Karazakarak to recruit different top-tier units in time for Operation Ground and Pound. Dwarfs during this session got invaded by Wulfric the Wanderer of all people and lose a settlement in the north. At the same time, expand in the east but mostly build up and fight the vampires and lizards in the south. Bretonnia, though, has been hit much harder, with Kemmler just smashing the local defenses and Red Duke fighting the combined forces of Luan and Fey Enchantress in an epic battle to stop the undead. Our players for this battle were Hutz, controlling the empires, who already had a pretty big grudge against the Bretonnia for reducing him to a single province, and Enoch controlling Bretonnia. And vampires had a terrifying composition with a lot of anti-hero units with very strong rush build. They quickly dispatched the Fey Enchantress's armies and beat up Luin so that he had to retreat to his battle lines and regenerate. After the massive battle that you can briefly see on the screen, and the valiant defense of Bretonnia, the Bretonnian main armies were destroyed by the Ravenous Dead. Casualties, however, were enough for Red Duke to redirect his forces towards Ulthuan instead of the rest of Bretonnia, and leaving very weak armies to defend his gains. As such, Bretonnia rearms to fight the wave of undead in the north. Last time, I said in this session, 2 players would be defeated, and the first one is Cathay. Cathay player's replacement has not shown up, and considering that they have been idle for multiple sessions at this point, we have decided that Cathay as a faction is no longer relevant and has been eliminated. Wulfric's player requested a pause, all of a sudden, for them to do something important, and in just one turn, Wulfhart transferred all of his remaining settlements in Lustria and Ulthuan to Dark Elves and announced that now that his main army is dying to attrition, he has announced that he is throwing in the towel and leaving Dark Elves with by far the most territory. However, now they must fight vampire pirates on 2 fronts with no end in sight. Join us next time to find out what happens next.